Welcome to part 6 of my Eden's Garden Workshop series. In this series, we created all kinds of projects featuring the Eden's Garden bundle. This bundle is available now at my Stampin' Up! Store. It's part of the 2022 mini catalog, and it was also a pre-release, so many of my customers were able to get it early. It includes the stamp set and the dies, and all my projects are created with either just the stamp set, just the dies, or some of the designer series paper, which is no longer available, but which some of you have in your kits that you ordered from me. In this tutorial, I'd like to start from the beginning. We're going to be creating this box. It's a treat box. And the way we're going to create this box is by first using the baby wipe technique to create the design for the background of the box, or for the lid of the box, I should say. But it's also a background design, meaning this background design that I'm going to show you how to create can be used for backgrounds of cards, not just boxes. And of course I have that to show you too at the end of the video. I also will show you other things we created in this series. But I want to just go ahead and get inky right now. So there are 5 other videos in this series on my playlist on YouTube. And there's also a couple other tutorials using this stamp set, which I created before I even started the series. So there's probably at least 7 tutorials, so this might be the 8th, even though it's part 6 of my series. Now, rather than cut the box lid right now, I think it'd be more fun to just create an entire sheet with using the baby wipe technique. The baby wipe technique we just reused recently on another set from the mini catalog. And I've used it on snowflakes and forestry things, and anytime you see foliage. So I want you to get out a piece of, for the bottom of your box, we're going to get out a piece of soft succulent that I'm going to cut. And then I'm just going to show you how to cut the box top later. So I'm just getting out everything I need right now. A piece of soft succulent. Okay, and I'm getting out a piece of basic white, not the thick basic white, even though it's a box lid. I'm just using the regular basic white. Now I can move that stuff off to the side, and I can bring in, this is just a lid from my mom sent me cookies. So it's just really just a plastic lid to put the baby wipes on. These are extra card bases in case I was just going to stamp them. But then I decided, you know what, I'm going to stamp the whole thing. Okay, so here's what we're stamping. We're making the box lid. So we're going to first set up the baby wipes, and then we're going to do the ink. And I'll say hi to you. So keep saying hello as you come in. And I'm just going to grab out 4 baby wipes. 4 baby wipes. These aren't super wet, but that's okay. We're going to wet them, using our re-inkers. And we don't even need a big spot of this. I'm just used to using 4 because it makes a good little cushion. All you're doing for this technique is sort of using the baby wipes to make your own little stamp pad. I get asked like questions all the time, like, oh, are they alcohol free? I mean, I don't really think it matters. There's no aloe or lotion in these. They're just plain old unscented alcohol-free baby wipes. But honestly, I really don't think it matters. Like, I think if you're going to go out and get something, don't bother. Just use if you don't have baby wipes, use wet wipes. You know what I'm saying? Use whatever you have. It doesn't work on a paper towel. I have tried that. It doesn't work very well, I should say, on a paper towel. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this over. So it's pretty thick. And you can see I have ink on my hands. So now we're going to make the little ink colors. Now, I was trying to just use in colors because in this designer series paper, which we're not actually using for this project, but in the designer series paper that I've been using a lot, it has the soft succulent and evening evergreen as the coordinating colors. Therefore, I knew that the other in colors would go with this. I knew it because the in color collections automatically coordinate. So I took out my in colors, and I don't know what happened to my soft succulent. Maybe I keep forgetting to order it, but I don't have any soft succulent re-inker. So I thought, but I still wanted to use 5 colors for the baby wipe technique. So I just grabbed a neutral color. When you get a neutral color, you can never go wrong. So I grabbed crumb cake. Maybe you grab basic gray or smoky slate, right? Or something to that, or maybe gray granite. And any of the neutral colors will work if you want a 5th color. I don't think you actually need a 5th color, but it's just kind of fun to have a 5th color because you're kind of making a rainbow for your stamp. So I'm just going to put a few drops of evening evergreen because this is my dominant color. I'm going to put it in a few spots. I really need this to be in each of my stamps. Well, not need it to be, but I want that little green to kind of come through for this foliage in the background. So I always just start with the darker colors. And I made myself a little box here to hold my colors so you could see them in case you wanted to take notes here. And by the way, that's where you can get everything at my Stampin' Up store if you want to get anything. Yeah, where would crafters be without baby wipes? That's so true, Marilyn. All right, next darkest color, I'm going to just go for the fresh freesia, and I'm going to do a few drops of fresh freesia. It's your purplish color. Now, don't just get random colors. Like, these colors are perfectly formulated to coordinate with each other because Stampin' Up color collections coordinate. You know, we have color charts and things. We have color families, color collections. So if you're going to try this with your supplies, and I'm always encouraging you just use whatever supplies you have, I encourage you to then use something like the Brights collection, right? Use the Subtles collection. Now I'm going to, by the way, use something. Polished Pink is next, Polished Pink. Use the Regals collection. We have a Regals collection. Okay, use a collection. So because collections go together very well. I'm just going to do some over here. It comes out different every time. I can't wait to see how this one comes out. So that's the Polished Pink. Not to be confused with the Magenta Madness, because the Magenta Madness is in the last color collection, the other in colors from last year. The Magenta Madness, I always mistake it for that. It looks very close to that. And I'm going to do the Crumb Cake. Again, just to get some brown in there for the nature part of this. I'm trying to kind of, for the nature part, I said, oh, I need a little bit of, oops, I didn't mean to get the brown on top of my pink. But you know what? It all doesn't matter, because they're going to mix together anyway. All right. And then we're going to use the Pale Papaya last, because the Pale Papaya is going to be like the filler. So wherever there's a gap, you're going to use your lightest color. So fill in those gaps. And also going to put it out to the side because Pale Papaya is awesome. And it's also going to be the color I use when I'm going to be using the blending brushes later. Okay, so here's our 5 colors. Now you can see those. Later, we're going to be using blending brushes with Soft Succulent and Pale Papaya to add some extra color to that box. All right, so next thing you want to do is you get out your silicone mat. And that's what you're going to stamp onto it. If you want, you can use your silicone mat. So I like to stamp onto the mats. So I have a couple of those. I'm going to put my baby wipe off to the side over here. We'll just stretch out a couple of the mats like that. And then we're going to get that. I'm just going to do a whole piece of paper at once. And we'll just mount a couple stamps so we can get them mounted. And then we'll get going from there. I'm not using the biggest one. For this baby wipe technique, I just used this last week, by the way. This is my distinctive stamping tutorial. So if you missed that tutorial, check out how to use this stamp. I'm using all these different sprigs and things. That's what I'm using for this tutorial. These 4. And any stamps that you have with a lot of foliage or a lot of leaves makes a great stamp set for baby wipe technique. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to just mount them. Okay, so let's mount them. Let's get the bigger one here. Just put it face up and mount it onto a stamping block. Let's do this one next. Okay, we're going to do the sentiment with that one. These 2 we're going to save for a minute. We'll reuse these stamping blocks in a minute. I just start from the biggest and I go from the biggest to the smallest. That's all I do when I'm using this technique. So let's put this there and let's just stamp on here. And I want to stamp onto the mat first to make sure I have a little bit of ink on it. Okay, it's doing good. I like it. But I want to get my stamp, because you're kind of making a rainbow effect, right? But I need to get my stamp wet. So not wet, but like conditioned to give me a good stamp image before I start using it on the paper. And I think that's good. So now I'm just going to go for it. Okay, I'm just going to turn my stamp around different times like this. And go for it. Put that one over there. Each time dipping in a different part of the baby wipe, and each time leaving some gaps because you want to have room for all the other little sprigs and things. Okay, I think I need to turn one this way. And let's also have a couple hanging off the edge. So something like this. Do you want to do that? Hang it off the edge. Okay, and then I'm just going to turn my paper a little bit. Do one over there. if you're not getting good stamping results, maybe you're not conditioning your stamp and getting it inky first and absorbing the ink. Maybe you're not using the basic white cardstock, the good ink absorption. Maybe you're using the cheapo stuff from Michael's or somewhere, and that's what I used to use too, and I didn't get good results before I became a demonstrator. And my upline, her name's Hattie, she was like, you have to try this paper. She was like, you have to try this. And I'm like, but it's so much more expensive. I like the 3 for $10 in my sale. And she goes, no, but they suck. Well, she didn't say it like that because she's very proper. But she was like, you got to try this paper. And when I did, like, I was like, oh my gosh, my results are so much better. So now I'm hooked on our, well, I love our Designer Series paper, as you probably know, but I'm also hooked on the absorption and the way that I get such good stamping results with our basic white cardstock. So I usually wait until like there's a free shipping sale, and that's when I really stock up, but it's pretty much something I pretty much add to every order. But then when it's free shipping, then I get like a lot of extra cardstock of all the, we only have that once a year or something. But anyway, don't expect that very soon, because right now our special going on is that you get free things. It's called Celebration. You get something free for each $50 you spend. Now I'm going to mount the next one. I'm going to go ahead and mount. Oh, that's the little one. I'll just do this next one is going to be this one here. Okay, let me give you a closer look at how this is coming out. It just much more character than just stamping one color. I could have just stamped a couple sprigs in the background with some soft succulent or some evening evergreen, but now I'm getting this sort of like rainbow effect and different every time you stamp it. Colors which coordinate. The paper comes alive and makes a fun background. Or in our case, a box top. Because in this series, I like to just do a lot of 3D projects. Like we've done in this series, Hershey Nugget treats, and decorated a craft treat box. All right, so now I'm going to take the last bit. I'm going to just do the last, this little last sprig that's smaller, and I'm just going to fill in everything with it. See, I'm just going to fill in all the gaps. Not all the gaps, because I'm going to still have sentiments and things. This baby wipe will get me another couple of sheets. So don't throw it out until you kind of use it all up, use up all your ink. Or use up all your ink, or it starts mixing together where you're like, okay, I'm done. All right, I'm happy. All right, now I'm going to show you how to make the box. And let's put all these over here, off to the side. And what I'm going to do is now wipe my hands. And put that off to the side. So now we need a trimmer. And I need to I just need to talk about box making concepts for a moment before we start cutting this apart. So most of the time in my channel, or most of the time I make the same size box lids as I make the bottom. So usually the box lids are the same size as the bottom. But this time I thought this is such a unique lid that I wanted it to stick out. I wanted the lid to like really sit apart from the bottom and yet still coordinate. Okay, so the concept is, here's the bigger picture. You're going to make, if you were to just kind of in your head, okay, I'm going to tell you the measurements, but then I'm going to tell you the real measurements. I'm going to write down the real measurements. Basically, we have for the bottom of the box a 5x7. That's a 5x7 piece of soft succulent. Use whatever in your kit that coordinates, because as I gave you a lot of coordinating colors, I gave you evening evergreen, soft succulent. Pick a coordinating color. Or, it doesn't matter as long as it's different than the white. The top of this box is kind of like a 4x6. It's kind of like, it's a little bit different than a 4x6, but I'm just trying to give you a big picture. So then if we were to score this box, like one way to think about this whole thing is if I scored it all together, which I'm not going to yet, right? You're going to have, this outer box is going to be scored more than this piece. So in other words, so that I can have the same size place. So, but in order for this lid to go over the bottom of the here, this is what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to have to score this differently than I have to score this around the edges. So if I were to just make it exactly 4x6 and make the bottom 5x7, the box lid will not go over the bottom. It wouldn't go over the bottom very smoothly like I want it to. Okay, with that said, I'm going to give you the actual measurements, okay? But just in your head, I mean, you can think of this as a 4x6, and you can think of the bottom as a 5x7. That's just the easy way to think of it. But it's actually a tiny bit bigger because the lid has to be a tiny bit bigger than the 4x6. Okay, so with that said, the lid has to, and this, don't worry about this piece of tape. That was me doing, I'm doing a celebration card club, and a lot of my paper was cut 3.75 inches. So I put a little piece of tape there to help me remember to cut it the right size. Anyway, so the top of the box, okay, I'm going to go, it's not going to be 4. It needs to be 4 and a smidgen. I always talk about smidgens on this channel. A smidgen means that you're making it like 1/16th of an inch bigger than what I say. So instead of 4x6, it's 4 and 1/16th of an inch. Okay? 4 and 1/16th of an inch. And instead of 6, if I just went out to this little lip, that would be 6. But I need it to be a tiny bit bigger than 6. So it needs to be 6 and 1/16th of an inch. Okay? So that's the lid of my box. Now the bottom of the box is easy because we take our piece of soft succulent, and like I said, it's just 5x7. So here's 7 inches, right? 7 inches by 5 inches. Very, very simple because it's the bottom of the box, and it doesn't, the top can fit over the bottom of the box easily. So here's what we got. We have the top and the bottom. I'm going to write that down for you. And now we're going to go ahead and score it. But first, let's write it down. Top equals, let's do the, I always like to do length times width. So 6 and 1/16th of an inch. It doesn't even have to quite be 1/16th of an inch. That's just my definition of a smidgen, if you have to quantify something. Times 4 and 1/16th of an inch. Okay, bottom equals, it's easy, 7 inches by 5 inches. I just say 5x7 because it's kind of like a photo, 4x6 photograph, 5x7 photograph. We usually say that, but when I'm writing it out in my instructions, I always write length times width. Okay, hope that makes sense. And now you need to know where we're going to score it. Score at 3/4 of an inch. And this one's going to be scored at 1 and 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so let's do that all around. And when I say score, you don't need to know forged score marks. We're not doing high-level math here. When I say score, we make it very easy, okay? Easy, meaning you get out the score tool. This is the Simply Scored. And we do easy scoring. We score around the same around all the sides. So like for this one, we go to 1.25. Okay, 1 and 1/4. And I do that around all the sides. Okay, I'm not trying to say, oh, go out here and subtract 1 1/4. No, it's way easier to just turn the paper and score like that. Now you're going that'll give you this large side of the box, okay, with a thin side, with a thin lid. And then kind of that's the same formula for making other boxes too, where you have to always you always got to come up with this size in the middle should be the same for this and this. However, this one, if you want this to fit over it, I'm doing 3/4 of an inch. Then it has to have that little smidgen bigger so that it makes, so that this little part in the end, this little rectangle is going to fit over this little rectangle in the end. That's what the whole concept is. Okay, we're going to ink it up a little bit different way with my blending brushes, and I'm going to do that once I make the lid. So now, next thing you know, after you get the scoring lines, is you see all the score lines. They're much easier to see. Let's do the bottom of the box easier because it's easier when I'm making boxes. I'm going to flip it over. That's a valley when you score down into something, and then like you're going to fold up like a mountain. Okay, so you want to take your valleys and you want to fold them into mountains, and then you just flip your paper over and you burnish all your edges. And you can use a little spatula for that. Use your ScanNCut spatula or use a little spatula like I have there. And I'm going to get out my scissors. And I'm going to start making this box and say hi to everybody. Okay, so now I can say hi. My hands are clean. Hello, Donna Jo, who was the first one here. I saw you come in earlier and say hi. But I always get hyper-focused at the beginning of my tutorials just so I can get them going. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm taking little triangles out of these. It's called mitering the edges. I'm also taking a little triangle off the edge there. This is just a box making technique. It's especially important for lids, but you want the bottom of your boxes to be nice too. All right, I'm going to read all your comments. You got Roxanne from Colorado. All right, Sheila, so your paper came. Awesome. You're talking about the paper from this one. Yippee. Or are you talking about this one from the, or are you talking about your paper share? No, couldn't have got the paper share. That would be a miracle because I just got the paper. So I just got my own paper to do the paper share. Oops. But it doesn't matter which kind of crafty goodness came, right? It's all good. We love crafty goodness. Okay, see all these little pieces? That's called mitering the edges. So I'm going to do that to the lid now. Flip the lid over. Go like that. And it doesn't matter that I got ink inside the lid. It doesn't matter. I can actually embrace that and stamp the inside if I want. Put a little piece of paper inside, a little message in there. It's all good. Yeah, I love little boxes too, Marilyn. From snowy South Pennsylvania. Hello. My old stomping grounds. Jean, that's New Jersey, my old stomping grounds. I always get asked, you know, I don't get asked by people from Philadelphia because they know I'm from Philadelphia. But people who are not from there, like, where are you from? Well, now you guys know. All right, so Sandy, hello, Sandy. Can we just do this little part? So I'm just getting in there. And if you don't do this, when you go to put your box together, right, then if you don't miter the edges, then this little part is going to stick up and it's going to look funny. So that's why you have to miter the edges. That's why you're cutting out these little triangles. I like to just kind of think of this as a big letter H, and then I just cut the little triangles off the edges. Then I usually put it on something to see if I actually got the triangles, to see if it's, I just put it over the top of something like to test it. Okay, and I can see that I got, if you don't kind of put it over something, you can't really tell, did I get all these edges? Because sometimes I forget these edges. And I forget to cut triangles out of them. So that one's good. And then this one was good. Now you could use glue. And I've taught you before to use glue with the boxes to put them together. And then I use paper clips to hold them together. But when you have giant flaps like this, it's so much easier when you have a giant flap just to use some Seal Plus adhesive. It's rolling adhesive and your boxes go together instantly. And it's way more easy. Easier, way more easy. Easier. Gotta get my grammar correct here. All right. It's just easier, is what I'm trying to say, without screaming into the camera. And I didn't mean to get adhesive on there. You only want adhesive on the flap, not over the edge. So that you want to get, if you do get adhesive over the edge, just yank it off. So put adhesive on your flaps. You can use glue. If you're going to use glue, then I recommend using the little clothespins to hold these together while they dry. So I use clothespins and little clips I get from Harbor Freight. Little store. Not a little store. It's actually a big store. It's kind of like, my husband drags me there. It's like a little Home Depot. It has tools and stuff. But it's not as big as Home Depot. But anyway, they have these little clamps for like 99 cents at the checkout counter. And you can use those little clamps, which are even better than paper clips. I mean, better than clothespins, not paper clips. Hey, you probably could use paper clips, but they might leave a little indent in there. So you probably want to use clothespins or clamps. All right, so that's my lid and that's my box. Now we have more things to do to this project, but now check this out. It fits perfectly. Look at that, perfect fit. Perfect fit. Why? Because of that smidgen. If you ever see box, what do we want to say? Box instructions. Say you get like one of those scoreboards that have instructions. They don't usually tell you about the smidgen, but sometimes they tell you to move your paper over a little bit and do things like that. But I find it's just easier to just make the top of the box a little bit bigger than the bottom of the box. Okay, now we're ready to do hello. Okay, hello Sandy. We said hello Sandy, and Lisa. Thank you for your comment, Lisa. I'm glad you like my techniques. And Marilyn likes the box. And now I'm getting spammed by Loveface XYZ. Not sure. I can't even delete the comments until later. It's like, how do they find me so quickly? I didn't even tell anybody I was coming online, and these spammers find me. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Janet. Sheila loves the blending brushes. That's what we're using next. Good segue, Sheila. And hello, Terry. All right, so now we want to take our... So what we want to do now is put some pale... Just so you know what we're doing next, and I'll show you what's in the box in a minute. We want to put some pale papaya on the side and some soft succulent on the side. Maybe like a bicolor box, or you could just do the whole thing. But let's clear this off for a second. Let me get rid of these little pieces, scraps. And then I want to just show you the soft succulent and the pale papaya is what we're going to use for the inking up with the blending brushes. Why? Because they're my lightest two colors. So we're going to open up the pale papaya, and we're going to open up the soft succulent. And we're going to take a stamping block. Okay, I'm going to take a stamping block and I'm going to put the ink on it. So check this out. I put the ink on the stamping block. It helps me control how much ink I'm putting on my blending brush. And I put some ink on my blending brush from the stamping block, and I tap it on there so that you get the big blob off of there. So when you touch it to your box, you're not getting this giant blob on your box of ink. And instead, you get this sort of light color on your box. The reason I put the lid on the box first is this ensures me that only the ink's going on top. And maybe I want it around the edges too, but not around the sides. I want the top of the box to be darker than the sides of the box. That's by design. So that's why, tapping it there, that's why I put the lid on first, and then I can ink it up. And you can even take the bottom of the box off if you want and hold your hand inside there to like push up against it if you want. Gives you a little bit like put your finger in there and hold. It helps you ink it up as well. Okay, pretty cool, right? So that's blending. And I'm going to do it again to get some more ink on there. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, tap on there. Get the blob off. And do that. So now, if I was doing this to a card base, though, of which I did make some. So this is a piece I made earlier. Or this isn't necessarily a card base, but if I was doing this to just a regular piece of paper, it's much easier because you put it down flat and you can put much more pressure on it. And you can see how I just do it really quickly. Okay, so that's easier to blend, but I was trying to just get it on the top of the box and not on the sides of the box, so I was just showing you another technique. Okay, so that's blending, and now let's do the pale papaya, because I think we have enough. So don't mix the pale papaya with the soft succulent, but this side has no ink on it, so now I can dip it into the pale papaya. And I just have dedicated blending brushes for like the peach or the oranges and the greens and different things, so I have lots of blending brushes. I'm just going to put some pale papaya on there. That way, it just gives the box much more character. Let's make sure I'm doing it to the right side. That's the right side. You'll know if you get a big blob of green on your... So I now have sort of a bicolor blended box top. And if you want, you can also go around the edges like that and get some dimensions around your edges. And voila, I have. And if you want to do the edges, that's fine. If you're going to do the edges anyway, then just do it while it's flat, right? Do it while it's flat. Let me shut this and get out my... I was going to stamp in the soft succulent, but instead I'm going to stamp in Evening Evergreen because I think it just comes out a little better. I'm going to open up the Evening Evergreen. I'm going to stamp the sentiment. And I stamped... Or not stamped, I cut out the pieces already for you in using the stitched rectangle dies. So that's what these are. So the stitch rectangle dies, I'll just get I got a few of these in case I mess up. So I'm going to put these here. In this case, I'm stamping after they're already cut out. Okay, now let's put those there for a second. Now I want to show you what those are. And let me see if I have a baby wipe I can wipe my hands on, because I'm getting other stuff on me right now. This is the stitch rectangle dies. Oops, they got all mixed up, but you know what I'm saying. That's what these are. I'm using this one right here, but you can, of course, just cut a rectangle for your sentiment. So we're going to go ahead and take this piece there, and we're going to take the hello there stamp, because I just love that. It goes with everything. Sending hugs is also, I'll show you an example of sending hugs. And I have examples of dear friend, but this hello there is pretty much great for any project, right? So put that down, and you're going to just mount your stamp on there and touch it to your, there you go, hello there, touch it there just to make sure it's good. And then you can go ahead and sometimes to keep those from moving, this is my little trick. I'm just going to put a little piece of adhesive on my mat. I'm just going to put these all down here with the little piece of adhesive, because that way they don't pop up when I'm trying to stamp them. Okay, let's see. Did I already stamp that one? Yep. Okay. Okay, good. This one's coming up a little. Okay, that one got messed up a little bit, but that's why I have a lot. That's why I told you I got a few of them. Okay, good. And then I'll put one over here. Okay, let's pull this one up. You can also cut them out after you stamp. I mean, that's fine too. But I was cutting them out anyway because I'm doing a card club and I was cutting out a bunch of shapes and I just cut out extras. Oh, I like that one the best. All right, so now let's put these over here in my bucket of crafty goodness. And like you see, I have other ones, and this is what I did to them like already. So this was soft succulent, and I put half pale papaya on one side and half soft succulent on the other. But now we'll try it with that one. Hopefully it won't smear too much. Okay, let's put that over there. And let's put the blending brushes over there. So bottom line is, put this, well, we can leave it there for a second. Let me see if it smears. I'll just kind of give you the concept here. You would let that dry, and you would put some pale papaya on there, right? And test out as you get in there. If it starts rubbing or smearing, then you know your ink hasn't dried yet. So I'm just going to put soft succulent on this side. Okay, that's good enough for me because I don't want to smear this after I just got done making a perfect stamp, right? But there's the idea. I'm just kind of giving a little bit of dimension by inking around the edges. And then we're going to add a couple little dimensionals to here. We can use mini dimensionals or big dimensionals. Stampin' dimensionals are fun. And then, but you also want to add some of your crafty goodness. We're not going to do the die cutting part tonight because I've done that a lot in this series, how to die cut. But I already have the pieces cut because I do everything in stages. Oh, let's close the ink here. Let's close this because we don't want to mess that up. So here's our box, and let's see. We would look at it and go, all right. So do I want the box to face, that way or this way? I'm thinking that way because I like the way the flowers go better, or the little leaves. Okay, what kind of crafty goodness do I want to put on it? I just look in my bucket of crafty goodness and I say, okay, maybe one of these little guys. Okay, or maybe one of these little guys. These are just dies from the set. Okay, maybe that. Okay, but I'm thinking more like this one. Okay, this is brushed metallic cardstock. Brushed metallic cardstock. That's what I've been using a lot for my dies, and you have that in your kit if you got the kit. Okay, and you can always follow along with my tutorials on YouTube. They're all on YouTube. But some of my crafty friends in the U.S. only, because I can't send kits to other countries, just because of as per our Stampin' Up regulations, I can only send kits to the country where I operate. And I'm a U.S. Stampin' Up demonstrator. So there's your little piece of brushed metallic cardstock. And now, oops, my thing's sticking down there. We'll put hello there on there. And we have a beautiful box. And that little bit of the ink was just to kind of set it apart. And there you go. And that's how we made this. And then, of course, I added some gems and some other. I just glued on those little pieces. So I just had my gems. The gems are just, these are called, what are these called? Here it is, right here. Garden gems. That's what they are. Garden gems. I don't know how I forgot the name of these. So I like to use the odd numbers of garden gems. Put one over there. Something like that. Some bling. And then I need the other kind of gem. Here. This is what I need. I need this kind. So I'm going to do 3 of them and 2 of these. These remind me of rays of sunshine. I just think they're so beautiful. I'm going to have a couple of these like sticking out like that. Oops. So we have 5 little pieces of bling. And then, of course, you have little ribbons in your kit and little twine. And you could do something with this twine. This is retired twine, but I put some in your kit because it was so fantastic. I forget what it's called, but it was from the Forever Greenery Suite. So you could do this little thing and go around there a couple times and tie a bow and do all that fun stuff. But because I want to show you what's in mine, I didn't tie mine. So I'm going to show you what's in mine now, just to give you an idea of what will fit in here. Okay, so in my little box, this is because it's a pretty wide box. I'm fitting a Milky Way, a Ghirardelli Intense Dark Chocolate, a little Mentos wrapped in the Ever Eden Garden or whatever, Eden's Garden. No, I think it's called Ever Eden Specialty Designer Series paper. I wrapped it up in there, and some M&Ms, and I even had room for grass, which is sticking around. So put some little grass. You can get the little shreddy stuff at the Dollar Tree or wherever. And that's it. So you just make these little boxes, and you can make a lot of them very elegant and easy. And you could, what I'm about to show you is, and I'm going to move this all away, is the other projects from the series and other projects using this technique. But of course you could wrap your little nuggets like we did earlier, and you'd have Hershey nuggets that you could put in there that coordinate. All right, let me show you a couple more things before we move on, because this is part 6. I want to finish part 6, and I'm going to go backwards then and show you some things we made in the other parts of the series. And making room on my table without getting ink and all kinds of stuff everywhere. All right, so this is what I made earlier, and you can see how just from one session to the next, like just from this to this, like this session of my baby wipe and then I threw it away versus this one, it even comes out different just in that little bit of time, just for my examples. So this is the ones I did earlier. Here's one I did with it's a card background or a piece of background, like some pale papaya in the background and some soft succulent. Here's a Sending Hugs card, and Sending Hugs is one of the sentiments here that I use a lot for cards. And to punch out the sentiment, I used the Timeless Label Punch. You guys feel free to report that spammer. Like if you guys can click on it and report it. I can't touch it because I'm on YouTube. I mean, I'm doing a film, but some of you can report that to YouTube and it'll kind of like block them, hopefully. Oh, hello, Yvonne. Hello, Denise. All right, yeah, so what's the trick to open the Stampin' Up! Ink pads? No trick. Well, it's because I use them so much, I probably worn them out. But there's no trick to open them except for I just go right here. I push this like that, right? And I flip it over and push it back. Now, if you have trouble, use wax paper on the sides and try to lubricate it up a little. But you can see I use the heck out of my ink pad, so I never have problems opening and closing them. All right, Sending Hugs. So you saw how that was the piece of die, and this is fresh freesia, and that's a card. Okay, and then this is the technique I just taught you. And then here's another piece there. And then this piece is one that I'm going to do a welcome to the team card, because we have a special right now for joining Stampin' Up. And I have new team members. Yay! And then I also have one of my team members, Donita, also has a new team member. So they're also part of the Paper Chef's team when my team member gets a team member. So anyway, I'm going to be making some welcome to the team cards. Yeah, lip balm. That's good. I like it, Caroline. Lip balm, she's saying. Not just wax paper, lip balm. Okay, so Sending Hugs fits with the Timeless Label Punch, and so does Welcome to the Team, which is from this one. So I will be making more of this style card using these backgrounds. All right, so what did we make in part 5 and part 4 and part 3 and part 2? Before I show you what I made in other parts of the series, I need to show you what my upline sent me for Christmas using this suite. I just thought it's fantastic. So I got this note from her, and I got it after the 29th, which was my last tutorial. I think it was right before the new year. I did my last part 5 tutorial. I said I'll be back in the new year. And I got this note, and it was just fantastic. Look at this little shreddy. Look at this. Look what she did with the cotton paper that's in your kit. Look how she used the cotton paper. Is that fantastic or what? And this is the craft treat box. And this cookie was inside. Like that. And I was going to eat it, but then that's the reason it's out of the box. And then I was like, no, I'm going to wait and show it to you guys because it's part of, it kind of relates to this. Okay, and I got a note from her. That was so nice of her. So that's what, anyway, now let's show you what I made in part 5. So in part 5, I did something called the distinctive stamping technique. And this, we made this card using cherry cobbler, soft succulent, and evening evergreen. So that card was my sample, and then we made this card live on YouTube for part 5 of the Eden's Garden Workshop series. And then since that time, we had a team meeting, like a holiday party, and we did a mystery card, and we used anything we wanted for the mystery card, but it's a special fun fold. And my fun fold was taking some of the crafty goodness I'd made with you live, because I had stamped a lot of these, and I sat and cut it during our meeting, and I created this fun fold card. This is my mystery card, meaning they told us different pieces to cut and the way to fold it, and this is how it came out. This is just designer series paper back here. And that's where you write your note. Okay, so it's just an easy fun fold. That was my interpretation of it. Of course, it was a mystery card, so I, of course, interpreted it totally different than anyone else. And we all use different sentiments, and that's the fun of it. So I will show you this fold sometime, maybe, or something similar. I like doing fun folds. I'll probably show you more of a gatefold. That's more my style. But anyway, that was fun. That was part 5. Then part 4... I'm thinking was the Hershey Nuggets. I'm not even sure which order I did things in, but we did these in my series. We made these Hershey Nugget treats. Okay. So that was something we did in the series. And so you could take your same concepts when I taught you how to make these Hershey Nugget treats. You take these Hershey Nuggets candies, and you could put some of those in these little boxes. So you have like the same, really pretty coordinating projects in your boxes. All right, so moving along, vellum. I taught in one part of the series. Now I'm losing track of which part was which, but I did teach you how to color or how to cut out vellum, and we cut out shimmer vellum, the regular vellum, and we did a lot of layering vellum. Okay, so here's and cotton paper. So I showed you how to cut out cotton paper and vellum. Okay, so that's how you layer your cards. Here's just some examples. Okay, in another part of my YouTube series, I taught you how to ink up and stamp onto the cotton paper. So these are all just examples from Eden's Garden. And then I have a couple more samples from my series. Here's more samples of stamping on cotton paper. I really need to start giving these cards away. All right, this is the new Hive 3D embossing folder. And we stamped onto the cotton paper, and then I ran it through the Hive embossing folder. Here's a technique I taught on YouTube called, in my Ink It Up series, is how to color embossing folders before you run them through the machine. And so here's a sample of using the layering diorama dies to run that through the machine. Here's another example of cutting vellum and cotton paper. Okay, here's something we made in my bingo. We had a bingo online, and here's another team card. Okay, and then on Facebook Live, I should say. In Facebook Live, I showed you how to make these projects, but I think I'll also maybe show these on YouTube, or I have shown them on YouTube. This is called a sour cream container, and this is called a tag treat. So I showed how to make these Eden's Garden projects. And then in part 2, I showed how to make these boxes, and the technique was how to stamp and decorate the craft treat boxes. Okay, and so here's some Ghirardelli's holiday treats. And then in part 1, I just did an overview of all the dies and how to use everything. Okay, so I have the next part of the series, I want to go over how to use these border dies. And then I'm going to be wrapping it up soon after that, because I'm going to be talking about these border dies, because they're not too tricky, but I do want to show how to use the border dies. I'm going to be wrapping up the series with some, I always do sort of like a bookmark tag type of thing at the end, and then I'll be wrapping it up, because my next series, I want to definitely get started before celebration ends, and that's going to be based on the Rainbow of Happiness bundle. Okay, so Rainbow of Happiness bundle. because we have a special where you can get free designer series paper called Sunshine and Rainbows, and that is something you can only get during Celebration. So I wanted to make sure I start that series before Celebration ends. So I'll be advertising that in the next couple weeks or so. I hope you enjoyed this technique on how to use the baby wipe technique to create your own card backgrounds and tops of boxes, etc. I hope you learned how to make a box, and you can apply the concepts of making boxes to any size box that you want to make, especially if the lids aren't going to be the same as the top. And I appreciate you joining me today live. And I wish you the best. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you all for watching. This is the Papered Chef.